Hello and welcome to the Purpose Pursuit podcast with me, Hannah Miller. I would like to talk to you today about something called purpose anxiety, which sounds a bit depressing, but I think it's really important that we have a conversation around this. There's a few things lately that have led me to the conclusion that there is some really difficult advice around purpose that's coming out to a lot of us, and it's causing us anxiety. And I want to clear some of that up. So the first thing that happened was I delivered a workshop over the summer, a breakout at a very large festival with thousands of people there. And my seminar was around discovering purpose. And when I had an email from the organisers afterwards, they said to me that it was the highest attended breakout of the whole week. Now, that wasn't because it was me. I know that. I'm not a known household name. It was because this concept of discovering purpose is a really big issue for people, and I believe is causing people anxiety. At the end of my seminar workshop, I talked to people for over an hour. They literally queued to talk to me because they were longing for someone to say something that would help them feel alleviated from this deep sense of anxiety and stress. And so that was my first clue that something here is a little bit missing in society, but also causing us anxiety. Then I came across an article that was in The Independent, and the article was called, I'm just going to read it to you, What is Purpose Anxiety? The Burden of Searching for Meaning. And it was so interesting that this article was leading with this idea of a burden. And I wonder whether you listen to the podcast, I wonder whether you've been following my work, but this concept of finding purpose has started to feel burdensome. It's like this idea that there is a gnawing sense that your life should have this overarching purpose, but you just don't know how to find it. It's this, who am I? What am I here for? And there is so much chat around purpose, actually. There are a lot of inspirational, motivational figures out there that talk about purpose. And this guy, Michael Steger, who's a professor at Colorado University, said, there are lots of commands out there to find purpose, but not a lot of support on how to do it. And I think, as I've said many times before, there's this feeling of there's got to be something more about my sense of personal purpose, but I have no idea how to find that. There's these calls to this nebulous idea of life having this deep sense of purpose, but very little practical reality around what does that actually mean. Adding to this, I started to engage again with the work of a lady called Kate Bowler. Kate Bowler is brilliant. She is a lecturer from Duke University, I think, in America. If I've said that wrong, I will repeat. I'll clear it up in the show notes. But I think that's where she works. And Kate Bowler wrote a book. She's written many books, but one of them was called "Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Loved." And her work has centered on some of these things that we hear in our lives, these maxims that we listen to, that we pay attention to, that are actually really deeply unhelpful. And everything happens for a reason, and other lies I've loved. It's centered around the fact that she actually experienced really late diagnosis cancer and was incredibly unwell and facing the prospect of a death much, much younger than she anticipated. And the book looks at this idea that people try to make us feel better about things by saying, well, you know, everything happens for a reason. Now, there are things we can learn from everything, and she would agree with that, but it doesn't mean that we need to accept that everything happens for a reason and that there's good to be found in the hardest of things immediately. And I think we can talk about purpose in the same way, because Kate went on to talk about this on her social media, and I was listening intently to what she was saying around this idea of this discovering a purpose and how when we find it, that is the key. And she talks about purpose monsters. This is her phrase, I think. I think she's come up with this idea of purpose monsters. Purpose monsters are people who are peddling this idea of finding purpose, but there's very little substance in what they're saying. And it actually also is making purpose all about paid work. That's the other thing she wants to say. And she talks about how, which I agree with, that for some people, paid work is not where they find purpose. Now, in all of this, adding to this, I think I've said already on the podcast, AI is currently being used. The third most popular reason for using AI is to discover purpose. So there is a human desire and need to discover purpose. We are talking about purpose. We have purpose thought leaders and motivational speakers. We have articles telling us that purpose anxiety is existing because we feel like we don't know what it is, and our life then feels like it lacks content, meaningfulness. We've got people like Kate Bowler telling us that purpose monsters are out there telling us, find your purpose and life will be great. It's the key to having a happy life. But we just don't know what that feels like. And you might be listening to this feeling like you have purpose anxiety because you believe you don't know what your purpose is. And you've listened to the likes of, people out there that talk about this, including me perhaps, and thought, but I don't know what mine is. Maybe you feel that you don't know what you want anymore. Maybe you thought you'd have more direction by now. Maybe you thought that everything that you did would have deep meaning, and you sometimes sit at your desk and think, what am I doing here? Maybe you feel like it could be too late. Or if you have found your purpose, why does it feel not great all of the time? Or maybe you feel too tired or unsure to even begin to find your purpose, and it just feels like another thing that you've got to do. You've got to get up in the morning, you've got to exercise, you've got to be healthy, you've got to control your screen time, you've got to be an amazing parent, you've got to look good all of the time, you've got to work effectively, you've got to give back to your community, you've got to save the environment, and you've also got to find purpose, by the way. And do you know what that is? No wonder that feels more like a burden and less of an inspiration. So I'm kind of with these people. I think there is such a thing as purpose anxiety because I meet people with it all of the time. And I would never want to add to that problem by talking about purpose all the time. My deep desire actually is to make purpose something that we see as so much more fundamental than this holy grail light bulb moment where now I know what my purpose is and everything in my life is sorted. Because my book is called The Purpose Pursuit because I believe it is a pursuit. It is something that we endeavour to discover in all aspects of our life. And here's the thing, maybe you will never really find that your purpose is worked out in your paid work. Now, I hope it does, and I hope it can be, and I hope you at least see glimmers of it. But I believe that it might be that you find that you do work that pays the bills, that enables you to do some of the other things that you love to do that really give your life meaning. Now, the more those two things can align, I think that's a win-win, and I would never say to settle for otherwise. But we have to believe that a sense of purpose is available for everybody. I mean, I really, really do. It belongs to people who have normal lives, not just those with extraordinary talents and life callings, not just the professional athletes and celebrities and global best-selling authors. Every single one of us, whether you live in the UK, whether you live in South America, whether you live in Asia, you have the ability to have a life that has purpose. We don't have to be somebody who's going to change the world in a dramatic way. We don't have to have any sense of burden that that's who we are. It's for somebody parenting a child with love and care. It's for a teacher that is investing in their students. It's for a person that is kind in their workplace, or somebody who serves their community or shows up for friends. I used to think purpose had to be something huge and that it was this destiny that I would arrive at, and then it would completely redefine my life. But I think those definitions of purpose can just feel like this, I'm not there yet, I'm never going to get there, only 1 in a million people do. I think I searched for it thinking it had to be this singular, extraordinary calling. But when I stopped chasing this elusive idea of purpose and instead thought about aligning my daily life with more and more of what mattered to me, I started to realise that that is exactly what purpose is. It's about making those choices day by day and discovering that this would shape my life, but then also shape the foundation of my work and the book I've written and the course I have. So I think the main reason I wanted to record today is to really say that, this is a real issue. this feeling of burdensome is really real, and it's something that many of you will be feeling. But I also believe that it doesn't have to feel this way. It doesn't have to be this inspirational idea that you cannot actually access or get close to. Now, if we go back to this idea of purpose anxiety, it seems that it was first coined by a graduate student called Larissa Rainey, and it was caught on by her. People caught onto it from there. Elizabeth Gilbert has spoken many times. She's a really well-known author, and she wrote Eat, Pray, Love about this unhealthy obsession with living a purposeful life. It was the formula that we've all been fed. But the problem I have with some of this is that because people haven't found purpose in the way they thought they would, that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the problem I have is that I do look at a lot of people online who are now saying, forget about purpose. It's just an anxiety-driven idea that you will never meet. And they just decide, just live the life you're in. Just dig in. Grind on, do the stuff that's expected of you. Because as humans, we have this really weird ability to either be so binary about things. We're either this or we're that. So now lots of people have decided it's impossible to find this deep sense of purpose. Only a few people find it. So give up looking for it and just get on with the life in front of you. I think that is about trying to protect people from disappointment, but I also think it's really encouraging people to look down and to give up and to settle. I think we've got to find a way to have a middle way, that we stop looking for this grand idea of purpose, but we also do not throw the idea of purpose out with the bathwater, to use a phrase. And instead we think, what does purpose actually mean? What does it actually mean in my life? It is about living a life that enables you to do things that are aligned with who you are, who you've been made to be, that personality of yours, that is good for you and it's good for the people around you. And that is the definition that I would always use. It is good for you and it's good for the people around you. That it's something that you discover over time. It's not a crystal clear mission for most people. You know, most of us do not wake up going, I'm going to find the cure for Parkinson's disease, and I know that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And if you do know that, then I'm like, all power to your elbow. But that is no greater a purpose than somebody who actually says, I recognise that I am a person who is incredibly good at welcoming people. And part of my purpose is that in any environment I'm in, I am going to do that thing. Or part of my purpose is that I am really innovative in my thinking and I come up with fresh and creative and different ways of doing things. So whatever situation I find myself in, whether that's as a charity trustee, whether that's as a parent, whether that's as a friend or as a director of a business or as a doctor or as an accountant, I am going to bring innovative solutions and creative responses to the situations and the problems that I find myself facing. And so that is just as much a sense of purpose as feeling like I am going to be X, Y, Z, and this is the thing I'm going to do. And so I think that is really important for us to understand. I also think another problem with some of the current way we look at things is that we expect it to be something that we can just punch a couple of questions into something, we can speak to ChatGPT, and boom, we'll get our purpose. I am a massive proponent of doing things as quickly as possible. Like, I have absolutely drunk the Kool-Aid. I want to be efficient. I want to get things done now. I don't want to waste time. I want next day delivery or same day delivery. I want a web page to load quickly. There's nothing more frustrating than when I can't get on with something because I haven't got internet. I get it. Like, I am just as bad in terms of give me what I want now. Let me know now. Tell me the answers now. And yet, anything I've ever done in my life that has been worthwhile has never come like that. Everything, in every part of my life, whether that's learning to play the piano. I mean, that is just a long haul pursuit, guys. There is no quick way. You can't just quickly watch a YouTube video and learn to play the piano, however brilliant you are. It is a lifetime of practice. My marriage, that is also not a quick fix, we've got a great marriage. No, that is about 26 years now of commitment, hard work, graft, fun, all of those things in it. Parenting. I mean, parenting is a commitment for the rest of your life. You know, these things that we think matter, writing a book, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work. There's no quick. There was no shortcut. There was nothing I could do to make that painful birthing process of a book any easier. And yet, there are other things in life that we're like, can we have this now? Can we have it immediately? Tell me what my purpose is. I don't want to spend the time thinking about it. And what I would like to say to you is that if this matters to you, you can find practical ways of looking out for your purpose. You can use my course, you can read my books. There are loads of other brilliant people out there, but you have got to put some work in. And you can't blame anybody else if you're not going to put that time aside. I've worked with hundreds of fabulous individuals who've said, I am going to put some time into this so that I'm better equipped for the next season of my life. And I always think, you know, hats off to them for taking this time so that the next decade of their life can look increasingly better. I work with 18-year-olds all the way through to 70-year-olds so far, where they're looking for those clues and that data. And instead of just going for this instant gratification of, you know, hoping that some sort of magical computer questionnaire is going to tell them who they are, they have done the hard work of discovery, of collecting feedback, of reflective questions, of trying things out and learning from that. Another thing I wanted to mention on this is that Jordan Grumet, I hope I've said his name correctly, wrote a book called The Purpose Code. And in that book talks about big P purpose and little p purpose. And how that too many people stress about finding the first kind of purpose, big P purpose, and they don't think about little p purpose. So I think what they're trying to get at here is that big P purpose is this mission, you know, I'm here to, you know, make the world a better place or whatever. And little p is those everyday acts of living out that purpose in their everyday life, which is getting ignored. And I would really agree with this to a point that I think that's absolutely what people do. They think there's this, you know, mission statement to put a man on the moon or whatever it might be for you, that's what they've got to find, and that's then going to be the thing that makes life feel good. But in a way, I would say that big P purpose and little p purpose, they want each and of the same thing. And the problem with even having this concept of big P purpose is that those are seen as better. And again, we do this usual thing of this is the hierarchy, that somebody who knows they're going to put a man on the moon has a better sense of purpose than a person who is living out their life, looking after their family, working in a school or working in a business or wherever they may work, working in HR, and that is a little p purpose. And that's actually a bit condescending maybe. So I think we can look at purpose with a little p or a big P, I don't care which one you use, but that it's all it. That one isn't one or the other. Paid work, hobbies, jobs, community, family, friends, pursuits, interests, work, paid work, creative work, things that you find yourself getting involved with. So I think rather than this audacious, unattainable big P, why don't we just change our definition of what purpose is? It's about being as much of the person that you are designed to be in any environment that you find yourself in, and that you take the clues, you take those everyday steps, whatever it is that you might be done, and actually use those things to give you data to make better and better decisions moving forward. So as much as I agree with Jordan, absolutely, let's get rid of this focus on big P purpose and instead think about little p purpose. I would take it further and I'd say maybe that's exactly what purpose is. And that there isn't this overarching, unattainable goal that we need to focus on instead. And I think I just want to add to this. If I've said this 100 times, I've said it 1,000,000 times. There is not one right path. It's not like, oh my gosh, I've missed it. It's not, oh my goodness, you know, I did this thing and so now I'm never going to get back on track. I just don't think that's what it is. My friend James has got the most abundantly cheesy tattoo that you could ever imagine. It says enjoy life's journey on it, and we always tease him about the absolute high level of mature cheese that is, but there is truth in it, that it is literally this journey that we're on, which has all sorts of different paths that we can take, and some of those paths that we take still mean that we end up back on the direction that we always wanted to. And those detours are all part of us understanding with greater conviction about what we should do. So it's there's a whole brilliant book called The Squiggly Career, and this concept of things being squiggly is really important, and it doesn't just apply to career, it applies to so many bits of our life. Make intentional choices, learn as you go, and refine your decision making as you go. The problem comes when you keep making the same decision that ends you up in a disappointing place. That's the issue. There's no problem with making a decision that you learn from and you detour from. It's not something that lands in your lap. And yes, journey does sound cheesy, but there isn't a destination. That's the reason why the book is called The Purpose Pursuit. It's the reason why this podcast is called The Purpose Pursuit. Not because I want you to pursue something in a way that feels like this deep, burdensome marathon, but instead that you pursue it through the choices that you make in your life, through the way you live your life, and the way you show up. So if you're listening to this today, hear me that purpose anxiety is real, and I recognise it's real. I want to say sorry if I've ever said anything that makes it feel like a more anxious topic than it needs to be. I don't want it to feel like this inspirational, motivational talk, but instead be something that you do not compromise on or think isn't for you. I do not want to be somebody that says, forget about purpose, just get on with the life in front of you and stop worrying about this because it's only going to make you anxious. Because I think anything that's worthwhile has a level of commitment and challenge about it as we discover it. I also recognise that loads of us feel stuck here. It's why I spend my life doing what I do. And I love helping people get clearer and find those clues that they're looking for. But as Kate Bowler said, I don't want it to be this purpose monster thing where it's you must find this thing, and if you don't find what your overarching calling is for, then your life is going to have a secondary quality to it. If you're listening to this today, and I'm imagining you as I'm talking, that you're in your car and you're driving to work, just stop and remind yourself of the things you do really well. Stop and remind yourself of the things you love to do, whether that's having a deep and meaningful with a person you know really well, speaking to the new team member, or being welcoming to someone, whether it's learning or unpicking data or talking to people, telling stories, making people laugh, encouraging people, being planned and organised and disciplined and making a really good plan for the day. Whatever floats your boat, that is the best information you've got to how you can use that in a way that supports people around you. It is not a pressure that you've got to uncover, and it doesn't have to have a legacy that people are going to talk about till the end of time. The legacy is the experience of people being around you, enjoying you, getting to know you, and the difference that you will never know you make, the untold differences to the people around you and to the life of those that you love around you. That is the difference that purpose makes. Knowing that that's what I do, it's the space I can create. What's it like for people to be around you? What's it like for people to be in your home? What's it like for people to have a one-to-one with you or to be led by you? That is your purpose. That's your purpose, whether you're doing something at home, whether you're at work, whether you're right at the start of your career, midway through, wondering about what's next, or thinking about retiring. Take that stuff and use it and enjoy it in all those different environments you find yourself. And that's not little p purpose, that is absolutely your purpose. Thanks for listening.